Okay, why don't we go ahead and get started. Thank you very much for attending. My name is Mark Sneider. I'm President, CEO, owner, whatever you want to call me, of RSW US. For those of you that don't know us, we're a lead generation business development firm that services marketing service companies throughout the U.S. We have close to 50 clients that we represent. Again, thank you very much for attending today. This is the last in our series of summer webinars. Even though we are into fall here. We had 4 this year, and we'll be repeating this series again next year with some new content. If you're interested in tweeting during the presentation, our hashtag is hashtag agency new business, so feel free to tweet during the presentation. And if you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to send them my way, and I'll do my best to address them either at the end, or I will reach out directly to you and respond to your questions. So why don't we go ahead and get started. When I first started pulling this presentation together, really, I mean, the purpose here obviously is to offer counsel and answer this question: how can I help agencies that frankly would prefer to build their own internal new business development program? There are a good number of agencies that want to manage it on their own, that want to start putting a program together, and we've been doing this since 2005, so wanted to come to the table to try and help those agencies that were interested in building their own program, to give them some counsel and some advice on how to do it, stealing some pages out of how we do it here at RSW US. So decided, the best way to address that question was to really answer this question. What if I was starting my own agency? What would I do to build the best new business program in the history of man, that anybody has ever seen? So really kind of this presentation is really centered on trying to answer that question. I'm starting my own fictitious agency and now want to build a business development program. And ultimately the goal here is wanting to live like this. So I want to put a program together that can be somewhat self-sustaining. I can enjoy some nice vacations. I know new business is coming in, versus feeling like this, not spending my days crying like a baby because I never did anything to market or sell my own agency. So ideally want to live in more of that nirvana state than in one of frustration. So as I take the step back and begin to figure out what I need to put in place, there are obviously some certainly some realities that quickly hit me in the face as I thought about building my own new business development program for my fictitious agency. The first of which is resources being tight. We're obviously working pretty lean here in my made-up agency. Everybody's putting 110% into client business, and there really aren't a lot of resources to tap into. So that's one of the the first cruel reality here. The other is I personally don't like to prospect. Well, obviously I do, Mark Sneider, but I'm pretending like I'm an agency principal and don't like to spend a lot of time on the phone cold calling and reaching out to prospects. The other reality here is I don't have any lists, or maybe I've purchased some lists from some secondary sources, and they've only worked so for me, so I really have nothing to work from. And then I also have some questions as to whether my agency's offering is truly unique. I hear lots of agencies talking about the same kinds of things. I go to competing agency websites and they all kind of look like mine. So I really, at the end of the day, don't know if my agency's offering is unique. And nobody outside of my market really knows who I am. I have pretty good awareness in my local market or in my state, but beyond that, folks really don't know who I am. And of course it's harder than ever to bust through with bigger agencies going after smaller pieces of the pie, with there being fewer marketers out there moving from job to job, being inundated by agencies like my fictitious agency here. It's tougher to bust through. And, I take a step back and I think, holy cow, this is just so overwhelming. I feel like giving up, and I haven't even started putting a program together. But, there's hope. I think if the agency down the street can do it, so can I. So I'm just gleeful with the fact that there is an opportunity. If others can do it, so can I. So, take the step back, and I start by telling myself, I can't be everything to everybody. I may be everything to everybody when I am engaged with a client, or I'm having a second or third conversation with them. But in the world of prospecting, it's not a good strategy to try and be everything to everybody. I know I need to be focused if I'm going to put a good business development program together. And I know I need to present myself as an expert. At the end of the day, I need to be like Betty Crocker here, who was trusted, respected. She was a thought leader in her space. Women turned to her for advice. I need to be somebody that people can trust, somebody they know they can turn to for good ideas like Betty. I need to give prospects a reason to see me. These agency or these marketers all have agencies, and so they need to be given good reasons why they should open up their doors and entertain a conversation with you. So what am I bringing to the table, and how am I going to present myself? Am I an expert in a specific space, a certain sector? Am I expert at a particular offering, like digital or social? These are questions that I'd be asking myself. Am I expert at understanding how specific consumers think, like DIY female, or how specific channels operate, like expert in the dealer-distributor space? So taking the step back and really thinking about kind of what I can bring to the table, where my core strengths lie, whether it be sector or type of work or some other element. You really need to zero in and figure out what that is, because if you don't, you're going to be meaningless. You're going to be basically irrelevant. You're just going to be another agency that does it all just like everybody else. And the other thing I need to think about is what I want in a prospect. I don't want to be going out there reaching out to everybody. Really want to think about, who it is that I want. Because I know I'm tired. I'm this made up agency principal here. For those of you that joined me a little bit late, and I'm creating my business development program and trying to figure out who I want to go after. And I know I'm tired of the roller coaster that I seem to always be on. Clients coming and going, making bad decisions about bringing clients in I shouldn't be bringing in. I really need to define what makes a good client. I know I've seen other agencies create checklists of requirements to help them more objectively define, when a prospect makes sense. And maybe as an agency principal, I should think about doing something like that so I can clearly lay down some objective measurements and take the emotion out of it. So, I need to ask myself, what kind of clients do I want really? What is going to make a good client for my agency? And maybe thinking a little bit about your personality and character and what your team likes and who they like to work with can be a good place to start. You also need to be realistic in terms of who you want and who you're going to go after. I always say you can't go from point A to point Z. You may be able to hit point Z at some point, going for those A priority prospects, but maybe there are some interim steps that are going to get you there. And you also want to ask yourself, how many new accounts do I want to obtain in any given year? What's realistic? What can my capacity handle within my agency? What kind of overhead do I want to be building into my firm? Look at the portfolio of clients that you have. We were just in Arizona at a digital marketing conference, BOLO, earlier this week. I met a gentleman who had one client that represented 95% of his business. That's a problem, and the way you think about who you go after may be different given that situation versus somebody who's a little bit better diversified and a little bit more comfortable. And so what are the size of the clients? What do I want to go after? What's my minimum? What's my ideal, and what am I willing to accept? So, you want to ask yourself these questions, try and figure it out. Once you've established this focus and the plan, I, as the agency principal, can now start thinking about my content strategy, figuring out how am I going to connect with these folks, using what, saying what in the messaging that I'm pushing out. The first thing I have to recognize is that I have to give it away in order to get it, okay? I need to give my content away, the value away, to let people see that I'm expert, to let people see that I'm committed to their space and that I understand the challenges that they're dealing with. In the conference we were at in Arizona, Jay Beer, who is the founder of Off Madison Avenue, has since sold the agency and now is an advertising social media guru, spoke at this week's BOLO Digital Marketing Conference in Arizona. It was a great presentation. He presented this term, utility, and what it really boils down to is creating value for the people that you want to have as your clients. So it's less about me. It's not all about me and my agency and look how great I am and all the great things we do. It's about helping my marketing prospects get better at what they do, so that I can be seen as an expert. I know from RSW US studies that are conducted that too many agencies, and this is from the mouth of the marketer, that too many agencies just talk about themselves. So as Jay Bear said, think utility, think about creating content that provides value, think about giving it away for free. Because at the end of the day, I want them to recognize me as a leader. And if I make it difficult for them to get it, or if all I do is talk about myself in the same way that millions of other agencies are talking about themselves, it's going to be harder for your prospects to recognize the value that you're bringing to the table. If my specialty is roofing, and we'll pretend like I'm a roofing company, I probably need to start blogging about roofing and home management tips so that the next time a consumer is looking for a roofer, they might think of me. Jay presented a great example of a pool company, I forget exactly where they were, on the brink of bankruptcy, and basically created an outbound content program that offered advice on how to make the right kind of selection of the right kind of pool. And bottom line was they turned their business around. They're now like the largest fiberglass pool manufacturer in the country, and they did it all using this whole principle of utility and giving ideas away. Not so much giving ideas away, but giving your thought and value away for free. And then you need to really start laying down kind of the essence of your core value proposition in everything you do. You need to speak with one voice throughout every platform. On your website, in case studies, in letters, emails, speaking engagements, webinars, white papers, PR releases, tweets, ebooks, whatever you put together, you need to be speaking with one voice. And whatever I have in terms of capacity to build, I need to try and utilize it. The key is making the time to do it. Okay, and I know everybody is limited in terms of how much time they have, but if others can do it and others can find the time, you need to try and find the time too to make it work. Because frankly, if all you do is wait for the right time, at the end of the day, it's going to kill the agency in the end. It's going to make it a heck of a lot more difficult. So once I've established my focus and defined how I'm going to message to my prospects, the next big question is, who the heck is going to do it? Who is going to carry the day in terms of managing all these things that we need to put together in order to put an effective business development program together within my agency? I know I have some options internally, okay, but none of those internal options are necessarily good, the ones that I have right now. I know that getting people to stick to new business tasks is like herding cats, which is, a hard thing to do. And I've heard about, issues when agencies try and make their account people new business people. Clearly that is a difficult transition for an agency account person to move into the world of new business. Not saying it can't work, but it is a difficult transition. While I know I'm a confident son of a gun, I simply don't have the time. I barely have the time to figure out where Isbadabad is, let alone find the time, to get on the phone and start reaching out to prospects. So, I decide I'm going to look for, the right profiled candidate. What am I really after here? Am I after client side experience? Is that what I'm looking for in this new business candidate that I'm going to go out and try and find somebody who has the experience? Kind of having agencies reach out to them. Am I looking for somebody with agency experience who understands the inner workings of my firm and can effectively represent me? Am I looking for the hardcore salesperson who is, driven by the dollar and is going to go after it, to no end? Or am I looking for that person who's savvy enough to be able to use social media to help them with their prospecting efforts, like using Twitter to gain insights about companies, striking up conversations with companies on Twitter, and then maybe leveraging those conversations into my prospects world? And frankly, the answer is it's all of the above. I need someone who's aggressive, who's smart, who's polite. I need someone who understands the advertising business, who understands the marketing client, the nuances of selling a service that's so ethereal as advertising, which is really different than anything else that, somebody might be selling. And I need somebody who understands the social space. So really, as you look out and try and find somebody to bring into your organization, it's no easy task. I mean, it takes us a lot of time and a lot of interviews to find the person that has the right combination set of experiences to be able to effectively represent our agency clients. So, take the time, look for all of those qualities in an individual. It may take you a bit of time, but at the end of the day, you're going to be better off finding somebody who gets all those parts and pieces. Of course, I also need this person to be hands-on, versatile, capable of seeing the development of and management of this process all the way through. They need to manage the creation of collateral. They need to, be able to kind of help shepherd the development of those things through my agency and helping find the time to do it. They need to continuously create content for the program. They need to manage the list, either acquire a list or manage maybe a list of folks that we've built up over the years. They need to do the initial reach outs for the program. They need to track performance and make sure that they're getting the activity that you expect them to get, and reporting that to you. They need to write RFP responses and proposals. They need to present, obviously. They need to follow up. And, of course, they need to close. So, it is the kitchen sink. Key, though, is establishing order and focus. I mean, it is not impossible for somebody to manage all of these things as long as they have a good program and a good process put in place. Because frankly, if they don't establish a good methodology for finding opportunities and building new business, it is going to get out of control. As your new business person starts working their way down the sales continuum on their way to a sale, they're going to lose focus on the front end, and the pipeline's going to wither if they don't have an organized process to stay on top of it. So as I would say here, kind of the bare minimum is build content and make the contact. So, minimally, my new business person needs to keep the content flowing as they're working their way down that sales continuum. They may not be able to be on the phone all the time, but they minimally need to keep the value in front of the people we need to go after so we can stay on their radar, and maybe track who's taking action on those emails we're pushing out or those blogs that we're posting that are bringing value, and staying with those people that seemingly are a little bit more interest. But you can't give up the front end just because you're working all the way down the back end of the continuum. They need to create that constant stream of blog content. They need to keep it consistent and focused on the value proposition that you've laid out and the focus that you've tried to establish for your agency. I'd say minimally get a post out 1 to 2 times per week. And in doing so, they need to think about using keywords that people will use to find your agency. So, if it's agency in San Francisco, maybe incorporating some of those keywords into the post, or if it's, something around a specific sector, business to business, or a specific sector like medical device, using keywords like that are going to help from an SEO standpoint as people start to try and search around and find an agency. And activate it. Posting is great, but push out that weekly email with a couple of posts, links incorporated into it, so you can get the information out in front of the people that matter most to you, that you're most interested in working with. And then track it, as I said, keeping track of who's taking action on the emails, who's most interested, and so where you can focus your priorities. And then ultimately, connect with these people and try and make the sale. So, it all sounds pretty simple. I mean, they get a meeting, they find the need, they make the sale. And don't we wish it was all that simple? But, as I sit here, I'm this, kind of made-up agency principal, and I've built this business development program, and I've hired my business development guy in. So now what? Do I sit and wait? How much rope do I give them? How do I manage their efforts, and what's reasonable in terms of expectations? You've brought these people in, and now you certainly expect some results. I'm waiting around. I keep waiting. It's been 2 months. Nothing. Seems maybe what has been a good deal of introductory meetings, but nothing's moving. I'm starting to feel somewhat frustrated by the effort. Questions abound. Is this the right guy? Is this compensation structure set up correctly? Should I maybe consider a model where they're given a good base, incentivized for quality meetings, and then further incentivized when business is closed? Maybe my program is too focused on the wrong part of this person's activity. So maybe I need to think about different ways to structure their compensation so they're not only motivated to find good quality opportunities, but also motivated to make that sale. So, I take the step back. I decide I need to get involved. It's not too late to make a change. I've decided he and I are going to sit down and meet weekly. We review the meetings prior to the meeting and during our weekly conversations. We strategize on post-meeting follow-up. I change his incentive plan so he's motivated to move things to close. And we work it out as a team. I come to realize that the more collaborative I am with my new business hire, the more effective he is. We can brainstorm strategy, we can develop post-meeting plans, we can collectively define priorities, and all the while I can stay on top of his efforts to make sure that it's all getting done the way I want it to and the way I need it to. Because I certainly don't want to go back to the way we were. The more I can serve as a mentor and, don't treat it as if I've hired this guy and locked him in a room, the better at the end of the day the results are going to be. And at the end of the day, the less I'll feel like this guy who's kids have crappy shoes. I'm worried all the time. They're complaining about the fact that nobody is marketing my agency. I'm losing sleep at night. I'm dreaming about making nice shoes, but doing nothing for my agency. And then the more I can feel like this guy who's much happier because his agency's getting the tender, loving care that it needs, and my children are happy. They have better shoes. I'm sleeping better, and everything is in a much better position. So, relatively short webinar here today, but just to kind of recap, in starting a new business program, I think the first area you need to do is really define your focus. You can't be everything to everybody. You need to zero in on kind of what your sectors or your areas of expertise are. Profile the prospects that you want to go after. Define the goals in terms of what you want to achieve. Build value-added content and give it away for free. It's a way we've built the business here at RSW. It's a way we try and manage our client programs and either helping develop content or grab content from client blogs and activating that content. Carry that focus message across all of your platforms, whether it be your web or your email campaign or case studies. Find the right talent, look for that person that's got all of the qualities that we described in terms of agency experience and client experience, sales experience, and digital social experience. I know it's a tough combination, but look for those folks. Incentivize them correctly, making sure that they're motivated to not just open up doors, but open up doors that are going to lead to business for you, and also open up doors that they can continue to move forward, and the incentives are there to help move the process along. And also think about collaboration. You're not going to just bring this person in and set them on their way without really giving them guidance and helping them understand what your expectations are and sharing your ideas with them. So collaborate with them. Don't isolate them. Don't keep them just focused on the task at hand without really communicating with them, because the more you collaborate, the better the effort's going to be. So, again, relatively brief here today, but some core focus areas as you build up your new business development program that you should focus on. Happy to have conversations with any of you about more specifics related to list development, related to content strategy. There's a lot of good content on our site. Feel free to reach out and grab any of that, or drop me an email at mark@rsws.com. Happy to have a conversation with you again about some of the more tactical things related to building the mechanics of a business development program. Really wanted today to just kind of touch on the broad areas that you need to develop in order to get a program moving forward. So hopefully helpful. I had a couple folks pop in suggesting we offered some decent ideas, so appreciate that. And again, thanks so much, and we'll speak to you soon. Okay? Take care.